Hi everyone, today's Leetcode question called Decode way. So in this question, we are given a string containing numbers and want to map the string from numbers to letters according to this rule. And let's check what the question means using example one. So example one string is contains one and two, right? So if pick the single element, map this one, we get this A, and then we pick this two, we get this B. So for single element conversion, we get this AB. And the other approach is to pick these 1 and 2 together, right? So this gives us 12. And if we convert 12, directly we get this L. So here are the two ways to decode the string and return 2. Example 2 here, string is 226, right? So actually there are three ways. So one way to pick this 2, so convert to B. And now this 26, so convert to Z. And now the other way to pick the 22 together, so convert to V, and this single 6 to app, right? So it will be VF. And by the way, we can do the single element conversion, so get 226 converted to BPF respectively. Okay, and finally, example 3, string is 06, right? And for this one, we cannot convert uh, to either scenarios. So if we pick a single element, it's 0, we cannot convert to anything, so cannot do that. And pick a double element, also 06, you see 06 here, doesn't mention anything in the dictionary, so we also cannot do that for the double element conversion. That's why I return 0 for this example 3. Okay, now finish a quick problem introduction. Let's think about how to solve this problem using the dynamic programming approach, which I have introduced in previous video. So let's take a look at the simple example where the string equal to 1, 2. Just use the ticker color and write a string here. Okay, so string is 1, 2. And remember, the primary thing in dynamic programming is to initialize the DP array, right? So DP array where length or a length string plus 1. So more elements the string. And the values should initialize all 0, but the base case it should be set to 1. Okay. Now finish initialization dynamic program array. Let's move the pointer on the string. So again, like previous question one, set the pointer I and this position, right? And when we say I this position, we are actually calculating dp1. And how can we get dp1? Well, first let's think about the single element condition. So for the single element, so this is I minus 1. Want to check if the elements in the I minus 1 are between the range of 1 to 9, right? Because you know 0 is not a valid number. Here, this one is 1, so obviously this is a valid answer. So we want to include this valid answer to here, so write 1 here. And now we can simply change this one to 1. And the other thing we to consider is the double letter combination, right? But here we only have one letter before this I, so there's no need to consider double letter combination at this step. Okay. Now let's move I to the next position, which will give us here. I is out of bounds, but you see I minus 1 is still in bound, and I minus 2 is still in bound. And now we have to calculate the dp2, right? Since I is at index 2. And how to calculate dp2? Well, first, again, we have to consider scenario for the single letter combination, right? And you see I minus 1 is pointing 2. This is obviously a valid case. So dp2 should set at 2. So should set at 1. Okay, so change this one to 1. And now we have two elements before I, right? You see this 12. So we have to also to consider the double combinations. And you remember the previously we have all the double digits coming from 10 to 26 inclusively, right? So let me write out here. And obviously we get 12 here, and 12 is within this range. So this is a valid answer. That's why we want to add another 1 to this dp2. Give us 2 and change 1 to 2. Okay, now since I is already out of bounds in this iteration, we must stop the search here, right? And the final thing we want to do is to return the last element on this DP array, and we are done for finding the way to decode the string. Okay, now finish the graphical explanation. Let's start in the coding part. So first, you want to consideration initialize DP array with all 0 except the first element, the base case which is 1, and the length should be the length of string, and plus this in the first element. Okay. Now initialize the DP array next into traverse all elements in the string as we did in the previous questions. So the first way to consider single non-zero element, right? And second way to consider double elements that match the digits in the dictionary. So if S I minus 1 is not 0, this means, okay, its elements from 1 to 9 inclusively. So it will satisfy requirement, and we just use Si equals S I minus 1. Because at I, we can safely do the single combination with all the letters at S I minus 1, right? And otherwise, if, okay, I is greater than or equal than 2, in that case, we can see if the double combination exists, right? And for double combination, we use this I minus 1 till I to get the double digits. And if the digits according to the dictionary is within 10 and 26 inclusive, then it's valid answer. So we want to use Si equals the previous sy, we get this step, right? And the plus Si minus 2, which is for the double letter combination. Okay, finally, let's return dp minus 1. Oh, sorry, here it should change all to dp, not s, because our dynamic program array is called dp. Okay, so the final step is to return the last element in the dp array, and I think it should be done. Okay, let's submit the code to see it works. Oh, sorry. Oh, here should be from 1 to length x plus 1. Okay, let's submit again. Okay, you see the time capacity memory usage of this solution is not bad, right? And I think this question is relatively easy to understand, although the logic is not quite straightforward. Okay, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and I see you next time. Thank you.